Welcome to Center Court. I'm Ryan Hennessy alongside Alex Gatlin and special guest Brent Maritneau. Brent, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Good to be here, everyone.
Brent is Action Sports Director for Action Sports Jacks. I appreciate you coming on. Also the play-by-play announcer for the Ospreys. And it's an interesting season coming. You know, we're about to come to the end of the season, but it's going to be interesting to come up. The interesting thing that I thought was Thursday night, obviously a blowout against NJIT. What did you guys see in that game? I mean, they shot the three very, very well. Compared to obviously Saturday night, we'll get into that. But what did you guys see, Brett, starting with you?
I just think it's a great matchup against NJIT.
Mm-hmm.
Look what they did up in New Jersey. Even though they got delayed by a snowstorm, they had to push the game back a day, which can really throw off your routine, you know, if you're a basketball team, creatures of habit. But after that, when they came back down here, keep in mind that NJIT game up there, they set a school record for 23-pointers in a game. Well, then they come back down here, and they launch a bunch more. They hit 17 out of 26. You shoot 70%, you're going to win every game you play. I mean, we know that.
It's not hard to lose when you're shooting that well.
Right.
Yeah.
But it comes easier to them. I think, one, because NJIT really packs it in defensively, so that three-point line is open, and it gives them so many options with Dallas Moore to be able to drive. But the other part of it is, height-wise, NJIT doesn't really have a lot of big guys, and UNF has a nice size advantage over them across the board. And I think those two things, if they meet again in the conference tournament, I think you'll see something similar. Now, 36 points is a lot. I mean, they absolutely crushed them. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a 20-point win again if these two teams match up. That's their best matchup, in my opinion, in the Atlantic Sun.
Well, you brought up the big man advantage, and that's actually been a disadvantage for UNF against teams like Florida Gulf Coast. So you get a team where you can play big and small against, as this UNF team would, they shoot the three like no tomorrow. And I think they match up really well.
And you talk about shooting the three, 25% against Upstate on Saturday compared to 58% against NJIT. And you talked about your big man. That guy got us down low on Saturday night. A bigger guy, but he was really getting us. I think he had 20 and 11, really played a good game. But, I mean, look at those seniors on senior night. Bo Beach, really kind of a slower start, but 1 for 4 from three. But 18 points, Bebe really showing his presence as a senior. How much of a key are these two players, Brent, in the tournament? Because we got a big game against JU, but in the tournament, because sometimes on Thursday night, Bo Beach didn't have as good of a game.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are going to be huge. I think, and everybody will tell you, and you know, they're right, that Dallas Moore is the MVP of this basketball team. I get it. But number 32, in my opinion, DeMarcus Bebe Daniels, is about as valuable as you can get on a basketball team. I know he comes off the bench, but that's because he wants to.
But he's like a Victor Oladipo type. If you remember, Victor in high school was on a team that's very, very good, and he volunteered to come off the bench. And I think Bebe's the exact same way.
He feels more comfortable because he's kind of an analytical guy, and so he likes to see things develop, and that's why he does it. But the one thing, Buchanan might have beat them up a little bit Saturday, he had his way, but they didn't get in foul trouble. For the first time in a couple of weeks, they did not get in foul trouble. So I think when you see Bebe Daniels going well, I think this team really goes well. The other side of it is Beach. Beach is just a streaky guy. Which one's going to show up? And he's doing a lot of the little things, I think, better in the second half of the year than he's probably getting credit for in defending, you know, rebounding. But again, you've got to keep those two guys out of foul trouble. They have a short bench, and those guys are way too important to be on the bench.
And Alice, I wanted to ask you, because when I saw we were down by around 7 or 8, kind of let the game get away Saturday night. And I was nervous because I was like, don't put up the threes. Don't just shoot up threes. Because Bo Beach sometimes runs up the court and just takes a three with a guy in his face. And then you saw Dallas Moore driving and kind of just chip away at the lead, chip away. Do you think that chip away method is better than kind of just shooting threes and trying to win or lose by the three? Because I like Dallas Moore, the ball in his hands. What do you think?
Well, I saw the same thing. Bo in the Florida Gulf Coast game, he had that kind of, I got to shoot. It might have been the scouts were there, because I know there were scouts from Miami and from Boston that were there. But I really think it came down to Dallas Moore was like, I'm just going to take over the game. This is my time. I'm going to take over the game. I'm going to get us back. And that late three was huge for them. We were all up in the replay booth going nuts when that happened.
That was a big three, obviously, with 30 seconds to play. And he came up big, and your best player needs to come up big in those kind of situations. I would like to, and I haven't had the chance to do it. I don't even know if they break down games. There's so much analytics involved in sports now. But if you find me how much Dallas Moore has the basketball when the other team's going on the run, I'm going to tell you that it's probably less frequent than the UNF's winning.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like in these stretches where over these last few weeks maybe when another team would go on a 12-0 run or a 12-2 run, it seemed like Dallas Moore wasn't getting a lot of touches, maybe off the ball, and he just wasn't handling. I give it right to him and let him drive, and
let him
nobody
pass it
can beat
out.
him.
Yeah.
And then the kicks come,
Yeah.
and then you have an easy three-pointer or an easier three-pointer. It has to run through him, and I don't know if that would be the case, if it would be a big disparity in terms of how many touches he has when they're playing well compared to when they're not. But I want the ball in his hands if it's a close game or if they're down. I want him to lose the game, because I feel more comfortable with him than anybody else.
And obviously Thursday night, talking about a tough game. I mean, we're playing JU at JU. Are you going to be there?
I'll be there.
You're calling that
One
game?
of the 12:58.
I was
I won't
about
be
to-
calling the game. I'll just be there.
I
But
was trying to wear a JU shirt to get in there, but they won't let us.
Yeah, they sold out apparently.
they
Oh,
sold
yeah.
out in about a couple hours, and again, it's 1,258
Yeah.
is what it sits. But you guys will have to be here
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
campus. UNF Arena.
Watch party.
We have a
UNF.
watch party going on, so we'll be over there. We'll be having fun.
It's gonna be good.
The stakes are there, though. So we have, as Saturday nights win, I believe I texted Josh Baker about this. We have the first game at home, but if we win this game, we have all three if we keep on winning. Is that correct?
The bottom line is a regular season championship if UNF wins on Thursday night. Now, there's ways to get in even if UNF loses. Could have as much of a four-way tie for first place, but the Ospreys get a lot of these tiebreakers in their favor. So you're looking at, let's just say, win outright, regular season championship, and what that does is guarantee a trip to the NIT. So no matter what happens in the Atlantic Sun, you're going back to the
They at
postseason,
least
which
have
is a big
postseason
deal
play,
for
yeah.
I think this program.
Absolutely.
You never know what happens in the tournament, and they look a little more vulnerable than they did last year. So to guarantee that, I think would be a big deal. And then you're right. We know how big the home court is around here. You could see the scene that we saw Saturday night, which was a fantastic crowd.
That was one of the best
against
games I've
USC
ever been
Upstate.
to.
And then, of course, we remember the scene last March. So it's a good deal for UNF. It's an important game. If they get that, win it, and end up regular season champs in the top seed.
So you talk about getting the top seed. I want to ask you both, who do you see as the biggest threat in this ASUN tournament?
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, it's a good question. I told you I don't think NJIT is very much of a threat. I think Florida Gulf Coast still could be one. But I think there are 4 or 5 teams that UNF has to look out for. And I didn't see that coming into the conference season. I mean, they got off to a 7-0 start, and I didn't know if anybody could hang. But, I mean, obviously they lost to Stetson. Stetson, I don't think will beat UNF again. I think they just got hot and never stopped that night, a few Mondays back when they snapped that home streak. But Kennesaw State can score
That
the
little
basketball.
guy can play.
They have 2 guys that can really score the basketball. Lipscomb can shoot it from three-point land as well as UNF from three-point land. And then JU has found ways. It might not, we'll find out tomorrow, but we got to look at this matchup and see how much different it is from the last time they played. Remember, they played almost 2 months ago. So I'm curious to see how JU matches up with UNF in the current state of both teams, the way they're playing.
Honestly, I would be a little scared to see Upstate as my first game. Out of the way, especially the way that Buchanan played.
Yeah.
He just dominates us down low, and he's done that 2 games in a row now. And there was a late foul in there at the end of the game, but still, he just gets in there and destroys us.
He does, and Eddie Payne can really coach for USC Upstate, so I think he can find ways, especially after playing you a couple of times. And really, if you go back to look at USC Upstate the last couple of years, even as good as UNF has been, they've given the Ospreys fits. So I agree with you. I mean, you got to watch out. But again, I think there's 5 teams you got to look out for.
agree.
There's not a lot of gimmies. The only gimme I would say for UNF really is NJIT. I think as good as they are, I just think that is the perfect matchup
We
for
just
this
match
team.
up so well with them
Yeah.
since they're so small, and small ball is what we're good at. We have Davenport out there who can play, the 5, the 4, the 3. He's just versatile in the same way with Bebe. So
Remember though, you don't have to play defensive here. Ospreys still have the most talented team in the league. I mean, they are the best team in the league.
Yeah.
I just think they have to get a little bit of that swag back. They got it Thursday night, and then did it disappear a little bit Saturday night?
Or did
But
they
they
ignite
still
their
won.
shots?
They still won. They were down by 9 points with 8 minutes to go, and they still won the game. So I think they're playing with more confidence, obviously, because now you're getting W's.
yeah.
And one question before we take a break, I want to ask. I heard you were on the radio talking about some of the players that you kind of didn't expect out of, and then that Thursday night game, you saw some of the bench players come out and play. Number 15, ID, they call him. His nickname's ID on UNF.
Shmuel Dowdis.
yeah.
Yeah.
He had a pretty decent game at the end. Do you see any players helping us, or do you think we're just going to go with the same
Yeah,
roster?
I don't think it changes. I mean, this time of year, you actually shrink the bench more than extend the bench. And actually, most coaches and programs have already done that. But this team has been very consistent in terms of who they play. They like to get Dowda into the game early in the season. It just wasn't working out. A little surprised they haven't played Carlos Odom more. But I think it's tough. I told you guys before we started the show, I think it's tough for this team because the 7 guys have played so much together that they're so good together. The continuity of this offense really moves. But then when you throw somebody else in that hasn't played a lot with them, it almost makes them look probably worse than they even are. So it doesn't flow as well. So I think they're going to stick with the 7 unless they have to because of foul trouble.
It's kind of like having, a fifth man out there who's just not used to being in the lineup, and you don't know where he's going to be. Like, they're going to be used to seeing Aaron sitting out in the corner 3 or Trent sitting out in the corner 3, or knowing that Bebe wants to dominate on the low block. But Odom, they're with him in practice, but they're not out there in the game times. They're not sure exactly where he wants to be during the game.
Yeah, the game speed is totally different.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't simulate that. But you notice it sometimes. You see the passing going around, you're like, wow, these guys know each other really well. It's cool to watch. And look at last year. They played the same starting lineup every single game. This year, they've played the same starting lineup every single game, with the exception once last year because I think it was Davenport who had been ejected, so he couldn't play in that next game. But you know what I mean. I mean, they consistently keep the same lineup in. And it shows. That's why they're so good offensively. I mean, they're the best team offensively in the league.
Yeah, we hope they carry it on tomorrow night. JU watch party at UNF. We're going to take a quick break. Center court with Matthew Driscoll, Ryan Hennessy, Alex Gatlin, Brent Maritneau. Take a quick break. We're going to talk some Jaguars after this.
All right.
You're watching Spinnaker Television.
Attention students! Spinnaker is proud to announce the launch of its new streaming service. Now, no matter where you are on campus, you could watch any Spinnaker movie with just the click of a button for free. So whether you're alone in your dorm, studying in the library, or hanging out with some friends, you will always have some of the best box office hits ready to watch. You can access this streaming site by going to movies.spinnakertv.com and clicking on the movie you would like to watch. So make some popcorn, pull up a chair, and enjoy your movie with Spinnaker Television.
Hey Ospreys! Be sure to stay tuned to UNFSpinnaker.com for everything basketball as we cover whether or not we will be heading to the big dance this year. In case you haven't been in the loop, the Ospreys' win over the USC Spartans last weekend clinched a share of the ASUN title and a home court game. In the news realm, you missed our coverage of police asking for help to identify alleged campus scammers and the tragic death of a UNF communications student. Avoid being out of the loop and download Spinnaker's app today, now available in the App Store and Google Play. We are the UNF Spinnaker and we're working for you.
And we're back here on Spinnaker Television, Center Court, Ryan Hennessy, Alex Gatlin, Brent Maritneau. We're going to talk about some Jaguars. I know you know a little something about the Jaguars, covering them the past couple years, and big free agency coming up, and I think that's going to be huge for us. Do the Jaguars make a splash? We've got money. Do we make a splash? What do you think, Alex?
I think I read a report that says we're really going to go hard this year when it comes to free agents. We've got something like $79 million in cap room, a little extra on the side there as well. So I think they really do go out and try to get a big name, but I don't know who they're going to get right now.
Is there a big name?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are plenty of big names available, big enough. I mean, you can classify where, the Von Millers of the world and things like that are going to get franchised. So those big names, no. But, I mean, you look at all that money, it's $79 million, and that's what I've been told at times from GMs over the years is that kind of money actually is hard to spend sometimes. And because you're going all in on some guys, and what if you don't get them? Like last year, they tried to get Randall Cobb, Devin McCourty, and then they threw a boatload of money at him. They didn't sign with him. So then they had all this money left over, and you're not going to throw the same amount of money at a lesser free agent. So I think there are plenty of guys available. I really have to look at Olivier Vernon down in Miami, defensive end, 25 years old. He's going to get a boatload of cash if the Dolphins don't franchise tag him. here in the next couple weeks. And then Malik Jackson is a big story out in the last 24 hours out in Denver that the Jaguars are hot on Malik Jackson. And that's not a surprise.
No.
The thing is, we wondered if the Denver Broncos would try to re-sign Jackson. It doesn't look like they'll be able to afford him. So now you're talking about availability, and as soon as a guy's available, the Jags are automatically in the game because of the amount of money they have to spend.
If I'm in Brock Osweiler's shoes, I want to stick with that defense. I want a defense that'll get me the ball back and get me the ball back with good field position, too.
And he's comfortable with a coach that likes him in Kubiak, and he knows the system now at a couple of years. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Do you go for those older guys still? Because kind of like a Chris Clemens, won the Super Bowl. And that kind of worked for the Jaguars, but not really. I mean, we want maybe a younger guy. Who would you guys go with? Eric Weddle's getting older. I don't see this free agent class really as like a splash kind of guy that's not going to get franchise tagged, like you said.
I really like Eric Weddle. I think Eric Weddle would be a great fit for the Jaguars. We need that free safety back there. So the fact that he said he wants to go to a winner, though, I think it'll come down to whether or not we can convince him that Jacksonville in the next
2 years, I think, is all he's like.
Yeah.
What do you think? 2 years?
Yeah,
I mean, and that's the
in his
scary
early
thing.
30s. Those kind of guys, though, the Jags have been smart about these kind of guys, the veteran free agents. Chris Long, Mario Williams, Eric Weddle. If they do sign them, they're going to sign them to 2-year basic deals. And they might say they're 4 when they're announced, and we say it on TV or on the radio, but they're going to be basically 2-year deals that you can get out of after 2 years.
Not guaranteed for those last two.
Yeah, they'll be pretty good amount of money, but they've got the money to spend, so it's okay. And I don't mind those guys for 2 years. That's what's different about this class coming up for the Jags. They need to win now. For the last 3 years, they were like, okay, let's build toward the future, sustain winning. Well, now they need to win. So if you can get better with Mario Williams, you can get better with Eric Weddle, I think they're going to do that. And I actually like Mario Williams and Weddle, even though they both come with a little bit of baggage. One with injuries in Weddle, and then the other one in Williams with people question as much of a locker room guy as he is. But I like them both because they'll both play with chips this year. They won't just go to the bank and cash their check. They want to prove to Buffalo for Mario Williams, who used them the wrong way. And boy, it was a messy divorce for Weddle in San Diego. He really doesn't like him. So I think they come in, at least for this year, with a huge chip on their shoulder. So I think you'll see this balance of young guys like Olivier Vernon and Malik Jackson, and then maybe a Mario Williams or a Weddle or someone like that you can have some veteran presence too. Jags won't be afraid to get a little older. Chris Clemens was okay year one. They just didn't anticipate the fact that he would lose about 3 steps this past year. He got old like that.
Yeah. When that happens in the NFL, you really take the beatings over your career, and it adds up, and eventually you can't live up to what you were.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talk about obviously making a free agent splash, but first, combine coming up, NFL draft. I think that's something that a lot of people are going to start talking about the next coming weeks, especially with these combine results coming out. But Jaguars number 5. Who do you guys have? I mean, I'm going to let you start because I got.
This is the one thing that I'm actually good at. I think.
Wait a minute. Why is that? Have you picked them right the last couple of years?
No. I actually sit down and go through the draft, and I do
This is
my
what he
own
does
little-
on his
I
spare
do this
time.
on my
Okay,
free
good.
time. I just.
Well, what do you have?
Not for class.
Make sure you share it with Dave Caldwell. Make sure he's right.
Yeah. No, but I think if Dallas doesn't take Jalen Ramsey, that's the guy they need to go with because they line him up next to Colvin. It'll be a good fit.
But what if they get Weddle?
I think you still go with Ramsey. He's big.
At the corner? Do you think he plays corner?
I think he plays corner for them, and you put Weddle at the free safety position. Line those two up. Have some 2 lockdown corners right there. Give Colvin a little bit of help. After that, I think you'd probably have to go defensive line. I don't see. I think Jalen Ramsey. They're really hoping that Dallas goes QB right there.
I think the quandary they could be in is if Bosa and Ramsey are off the board. Then where do they go? Joey Bosa from Ohio State, the defensive end, and Ramsey, I think, is probably the odds-on favorite. If you had to go to Vegas and put the favorites out there, Ramsey would be the favorite right now because I think he gives you versatility. You could maybe move him to free safety. If not now, you could still get Weddle, play him at corner, right, for a couple years, and then move him to free safety, and he's still a young guy. And we know it's an important part of this position and now in the NFL. So that's why I think Ramsey is valuable, and he's a stud. I mean, he's a really good player. Bosa comes with a little more question marks, but you can never have enough pass rushers. I think the sleeper pick for the Jags is an offensive tackle. I don't believe that they'll go there, but I think the sleeper pick, especially if those 2 guys are off the board, did Laramie Tunsil drop? Do they really like Ronnie Stanley out of Notre Dame? And do they think those 2 guys could be better than Luke Joeckel? I don't think they've given up on Joeckel. I think they're okay with him. But if they can really upgrade the position, and that would throw everyone off because all we've heard is defense in this draft. But if you don't have your two favorite guys,
You gotta go
and a
somewhere else.
Tunsil, who you think is a 10-year-old pro, falls to you, I think Caldwell could do that.
So if Bosa and Ramsey are dropping to 5, if you see Bosa kind of like a Leonard Williams last year, dropping,
Yeah.
Do you see them going Bosa?
I would think, I think they would still go Ramsey if you had the two options because of the versatility part. And again, I think that makes sense. So you could go corner, and you have your guy that you shut down corner. You got to say they're even on their board. We have no idea where they are on the board. If they're even on the board, I think Ramsey gives you more, and you've probably addressed defensive end a little bit in free agency, and you also have Dante Fowler. So you have some bodies there. But I will say this, Dave Caldwell has told me many times before over the years, top 5 pick, most of the time going quarterback, left tackle, defensive end.
Those are the three most
Those
important
are the three
positions.
most important. But the Jags really do value that free safety, and I think that's why things may change a little bit this year. So I wouldn't be shocked if they were to pick Bosa, thinking he might be the next J.J. Watt.
Well,
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead,
going to say a little interesting bit about Jalen Ramsey. He was actually the first corner at Florida State to start as a freshman in the home opener since Deion Sanders. So that's a little maybe opening up to the future, but
There you
we'll
go.
see. That's
There
a
you
lot of
go.
high, that's high praise, but
That is high
we'll
praise.
see. But
I like it. See, you've done your homework.
yeah, I
You
know,
really
I know what
have.
I'm doing.
Who's going number 1?
I got Tunsil.
You do
I
have
think,
Tunsil.
yeah, I think Tunsil, Tennessee, they have to go offensive tackle. They need to protect
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota, their investment. So
Absolutely.
I think they go. I think they go.
I think you're
tackle.
right, and I think he is going to be a 10-year guy that's really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you take him with the number 2 pick in Mariota. You gotta help him out. But I want to talk about sleeper picks in this draft. One of mine, and I have 2 of them because I was going to talk, is obviously probably not a sleeper, but Miles Jack out of UCLA.
Yeah.
I really see him being a steal in the draft. I mean, he's going to go top 10 probably, depending on how the combine goes. But I see him being a very, very, very good linebacker in the NFL. And another one is Reggie Ragland, inside linebacker at Alabama. I mean, you cannot go wrong with these linebackers at Alabama. You see them up in New England. I mean, you've got linebackers Ronaldo McClain, obviously off the field, but he's always been a good linebacker. I really do see him, and I want to see the Jaguars, even in the second round maybe. I know they want to, and I want to talk about who you would take in the second round, but Puz is getting up there in age, and there's nothing more important than having a middle linebacker. And we saw the struggles at linebacker last year. We got that guy from Miami come in late in the season, and I want to see a guy kind of follow in Puz's footsteps and try to take over, because the Jaguars' defense, I think, is going to be young in the future, and I really want to see them draft a guy, maybe in the second round middle linebacker. But what do you think, sleeper pick, Alec?
I'm gonna go with my Georgia guy. I got to go with Leonard
Georgia
Floyd.
fan.
I think
Yeah,
Leonard
could be
Floyd,
good.
a later first-round pick, could really make a difference for a team somewhere. He's a big, tall frame. You can put some muscle on him, and he's got the speed like no tomorrow. And he hits like Alec Ogletree when Alec Ogletree was there. So
Yeah, well, I think the sleeper pick could be Derrick Henry, the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, where are they going to drop running backs to in this draft? He's the number 2 rated running back on most boards, but he might not get picked until the middle of the second round.
Yeah.
People don't like to pick running backs in the first round anymore. They had 2 good ones last year, so they did. And I think people are comfortable with where they are in that position for the most part. I've actually said I think if he were to slip to the 3rd round, which is highly unlikely, I think the Jags would be interested.
You don't think at
I don't
2?
think at 2, and I don't think at 1, because I do think they're going to have to pick up their linebacker in the 2nd round or 3rd round as well. They need a young guy. They're way behind in that position at getting a young guy in there. I agree with you. And Puzzle, they need to get faster. Puzzle is going to be great on 1st and 2nd down. The Jags have known for years that he's not great on 3rd down because of speed and different coverage things, and they haven't addressed it. And I think they're way overdoing that. It's not going to be a Miles Jack, in my opinion, because
Yeah.
I don't think they'll go that high unless they were to trade back. Could they trade back, or could they trade back into the 1st round if a Jalen Smith were to drop because of the knee injury? Keep an eye on something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jags traded back into the 1st round if they love a guy that's still dropping.
I think another guy, if he slips into the 2nd round, would be Scooby Wright out of Arizona.
That's a good
I
one,
think
too.
he'd be
Good-
a good,
very good
middle
player.
And he
linebacker.
is a kind of a drop guy. You know, he's
Yeah.
not necessarily a 1st round guy. So that could be a good one.
Yeah.
But again, you have to have a guy nowadays that can cover. And the Jags want to get faster. So as soon as you see a guy that's not fast and you don't think can cover from a linebacker perspective, probably rule him out for the Jags, especially the fast. That's why, again, Chris Long, at this day and age, is he fast? I don't think so. I think the Jags stay away.
Yeah. And we talked about, this is the year you said to win. I wanted to just ask you before we do our last segment, Jaguars record next year, where do you see them? I mean, obviously I see the offense progressing. If we fix defensive, issues, what do you see the Jaguars' record?
Well, you know me, I'm a sunshine and rainbows guy. I'm very positive when it comes to the Jags usually, though it's been hard to do. I think if Bortles makes a gradual step, let me go back a second. Last year I said if they could score, averaged 15 points a game the last 2 years prior to this one. I said if they could score 21 a game, if you put those numbers against other teams in the league, every team that averaged 21 was a 500 team. Well, this year the Jags go out and average 25 a game, and they still only win 5 games. And so they're obviously making big mistakes, not getting things done at the right time, and the numbers were probably a little skewed. I think the offense probably sticks around 24, 25 points a game, and the defense really, if they just go out on the football field, will be better than they were a year ago. So I think a 9-win season is probably the low for the Jags this year.
The low?
I think it is because I think
Really?
and I think it has to be.
Oh,
maybe it's more. It has to be. I don't think they were almost 500 last year and they weren't even good.
Yeah.
So the schedule's a little tougher. I will take 9 wins. I think they could do it, and I think in their division they could even win 10. Now the high, I don't have a super high. I don't think they're going to win 12.
Yeah.
And I really probably don't think they're going to win 11. I think I'm just in that 9 or 10 range. I think they can do it. That's doable. If they do less than that, I don't think you'll see Gus Bradley around.
No, I think this is definitely the year to win for them. If they do not get to that 9 win like you were talking about, I think you might see a new coaching staff.
But 9 doesn't get you in the playoffs necessarily. And I kind of feel like
maybe
it's
in
a
the
playoff
AFC
or bust.
South.
It might be a playoff or bust year, but if you do 9 wins, and that's a 4-game improvement, hard to fire a coach after he won 4 more games than he did the year before.
Yeah.
I got to say 8. I'm going to have like 8 wins. Obviously, if that defense gets corrected, I like everyone knows who the Allen brothers are now, and I think they're going to guard them with more respect, and that's going to get more actually 6 points for Yeldon, and I think that's what we kind of missed last year was more of throwing and not of Yeldon getting the actual touchdowns. Had pretty good yardage, but the touchdowns weren't where I wanted them. Obviously, rookie, got him pretty in the second round. I think it was a good pick, but I see more touchdowns out of him. I think we can do 8, 9 wins. I like the 9. I think 9's a good thing to go for, but I see 8 maybe. Obviously, Andrew Luck's coming back, so that's going to be tough to win that division. So
it's not an easy schedule, at least on paper. But
at
I'm not a
home
big
either.
predicting the schedule guy because the Jags beat teams that they shouldn't have beat this year. You wouldn't have predicted them to beat, and they lost the teams you would have predicted them to beat, right?
Yeah.
It's just the way the NFL is year to year.
Yeah. So we're going to do our last segment, Ballers and Dudes. So Ballers are the good guys.
All right.
The guys that ball out this week.
All 3 of us.
Yeah, all 3 of them. I got Hello Kitty on mine. So Alex, I'm going to have you do your baller first.
Well, I'm going to go with my buddy because I think he's done a great job this year coming off the bench and really being an effort player for the UNF Ospreys. But Aaron Bottiger, I think Aaron Bottiger has been a great guy off the bench for the team, and I think he's really shown some hustle. There was a play against USC Upstate where he leaped out of bounds and threw it behind him. It led to a fast break score. So I think Aaron has really stepped up this year, especially after his freshman year when he tore his ACL. And I'd like to see him. I like to see him play well.
I agree with you too. Underrated. He's really given them some good minutes, and you know that he's shooting higher percentage from 3-point land now than Trent Mackey is.
He takes smart shots,
Yeah.
and that's what I really like about him.
Yeah,
I think
so
he's
47% from 3-point land. He's done a nice job. Nobody does talk about him, but he's a good role guy for this team.
We were talking to Coach, and Coach actually said that Aaron goes out there and does what the team needs. He doesn't try to force things. He tries to get whatever is going to work for the team.
Yeah, good for him too, because he kind of it took a little while.
Yeah,
he
really
really
over
worked.
these last couple of years, but now he's developed nice. Is it my turn?
Yeah,
Yep.
Here we go. Can you see it? Oh, baby. And I do think Coach asked me last week before that game on Thursday night, went over to practice, and he said, all right, what's wrong with us? Everybody's asking Coach, what's wrong? And which is a good thing because it shows you how much the program has arrived that everybody in town was asking what's wrong. But I told him, I said, I think it's Bebe Daniels. He had 5 fouls, 4 fouls, 5 fouls, 4 fouls. So he's ejected from 2 games. He usually averages about ejected. He had to leave 2 games because of the foul trouble. He has 26 or 27 minutes a game in conference play. Well, over that 4-game stretch when they lost, he was averaging about 20 minutes a game. You're talking about taking the defensive player of the year off the floor for 7 minutes. Doesn't sound like a lot, but I think that's a big deal. They gave up in that stretch 90 points compared to 75 when they were winning games. I think it's a simple equation. Yeah. And there's a lot more than that. Can they shoot the threes with a higher percentage? All that stuff. But I'm going to go with Bebe Daniels, and look what he did Thursday night. And then look what he did again on Saturday. When he's good, they are very, very good. And so, and he fills up the entire stat sheet. So definitely a baller.
Yeah. For my baller, I don't know if you guys heard about this story. Jordan Murphy. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but he's a fullback out of Colorado. He was actually in the movie theater in Aurora Theater where the shooting happened a couple years ago. Fullback out of Colorado, didn't get an invite to the combine, but trying to make an NFL roster. And I think it's a really cool story. When he left that arena or that movie theater that night, he didn't die, obviously. 12 people died, 70 injured. He was with 3 friends. He promised himself that when he left that theater, he didn't want to look back in life. Didn't want to leave anything to question. So he's trying to be on an NFL roster. Jordan Murphy, I think, never got a carry at Colorado, but it's just a cool story, and he's trying to get his NFL dream. So maybe they'll give him a shot. I mean, you never know. So I thought that was really a cool baller that, I hope he gets a shot.
That'd be pretty cool.
You never know.
They sign a lot of guys from workout contracts these days and undrafted free agents, and there's always Mr. Irrelevant in the draft, that last pick. And that would be a neat story to give someone the opportunity. It feels like once a year we get a story, a different kind of story. Up in Atlanta, it was the guy that was falsely in prison. I think Detroit had a young man who was in the Navy for quite some time and had to go serve and then came back. So we've seen different situations. This would be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Who you got for your dude?
Well, I'm going to go with dude, but this isn't so much the individual as it is the situation. I put Shady on there because we have a really interesting situation with LaShawn McCoy right now. He allegedly has beat up 2 off-duty police officers in a bar fight. And yet charges haven't been brought on him yet. And now the district attorney is supposed to meet with him, or I think he met with him yesterday. And apparently this hasn't happened in something like 30 years that someone's met with the district attorney. So I'm not really sure what's going on in Philadelphia, but it sounds like we're having a little evasion of the law right now.
Yeah, it's a slow play story, isn't it?
So
it's been weird.
It's been extremely weird. And so I'd like to get a little bit more information before I really say it's the DA that's the problem here, or it's LaShawn McCoy. It's obviously something with LaShawn has gone wrong.
And they haven't released him yet, so
No,
I mean they're just kind of waiting
really
for
happened.
information to come out. But yeah, that's definitely big time running back. I mean they traded Kiko Alonso for him, so that was a big risk they made. But hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully it turns out it was not bad. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about
All right, here's what I have: Dante Fowler Jr.
Yeah.
I knew this
coming off yesterday. And listen, Got to be a little careful because I know the audience talking. First of all, life's about decisions and surround yourself with good people. So Dante's got to do a better job of that. I think he got super lucky. You never know. These days we see it all. We see the videos. There's a lot of domestic abuse types of situations in the NFL that are scary things and are bad for the NFL and bad for players. I don't know how much he actually did wrong in this situation. I think it was a little bit blown out of proportion, some of the story. But I also believe for the young guys coming into the league, for Dante Fowler now, this was a wake-up call without probably too many consequences. I think it's a great learning tool for Dante that, he's got a brand and a business now with that name attached to it. That you better make the right decisions and surround yourself with good people. And, personal life is your personal life, but when you're this guy, your personal life is everybody's life. So I think they dodged a bit of a bullet. And we'll see what happens now going forward. I think now we keep an eye on Dante Fowler, though, because of what happened the other day and that video that exposed him a little bit. And hopefully he's a good citizen and a really good football player here in Jacksonville for years to come.
2 negatives on Dante Fowler. I mean, getting injured, and then we want to see some good things out of him.
Yeah,
next year.
the injury couldn't do anything about, right?
Especially he wanted to come to Jacksonville, too. He said openly, I want to go to Jacksonville. And so now season's going to be coming around next fall, and he's got his time to prove.
Listen, I spent a lot of time with him at the draft up in Chicago last year, and he's a nice young man, electric guy, electric smile. I mean, great personality.
Electric shoes.
But this doesn't fit. Yeah, electric shoes to go to. But this doesn't fit. So now we've seen both ends of the spectrum. That guy with the shoes and the smile, and now this that stay out of TMZ. Right? You never want to be on TMZ.
So with my dude, I got to go with myself. Thursday night, you were calling the game. Alex was doing the replays. And
We should have all picked him.
We should have all picked him.
I was shooting
or at least we should have picked him.
I was shooting a free throw, and I airballed it for $10 to the bookstore. So in front of around 2,000 people, I airballed it. People chanted airball. So let's say I'm going to stick to this stuff and not.
So do you have to give $10 now to the
No,
bookstore?
Ozzy made it. Ozzy made it after, and they gave me the gift card. And I'm like, I don't want this gift card. I just
You didn't
airballed
earn it.
But it was.
So when you go to spend that, they're gonna go, "Oh, how'd you get this?
How'd you get this? I
Listen,
didn't make it. Let's
For
put
the
it that
ribbing
way.
you probably took the next 48 hours, you probably deserved the $10 gift
exactly.
card.
Oh man, it was rough, but Brent, I appreciate you coming on our show.
Hey, good to see you guys.
Center
Thank
court.
you for being
Good to
on
see
with
you.
us.
Brent Maritneau, Alex Gatlin, Ryan Hennessy. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, 6 o'clock, doors open, 7 o'clock, game watch party in the UNF arena, UNF versus JU. Let's get that home court. 3 games.
And then we'll have a couple of games to broadcast next week.
Oh,
That'll be nice.
exactly. Signing out. Center court.